With Amanda LaFratta, I'm Dave Hooker, breaking in on a Saturday. Why? Because Tennessee has drawn the ire of the NCAA. Please like and subscribe as we will break it down for you right here. Tennessee with 18 level 1 violations by the NCAA. When you see that on paper, 18 is a big number. Now, I want to dive more into that and what that actually means for Tennessee if they would face serious punitive damage. But first, Amanda, when you saw the report and we had it on offthehooksports.com, what were your thoughts?
At first glance, it doesn't look great for Tennessee. And I'm not going to lie, I don't think anybody thinks it looks great. However, I have two issues with it. This is the same NCAA that right now is trying to take away a rule that prevents people from transferring more than one time for just unnecessary purposes. And it's also the same NCAA that when Penn State, when that whole thing happened, after like a year or two, they were just like, okay, we're good. Everything's fine. Y'all are okay. The whole Jerry Sandusky thing, just let's sweep that under the rug. No harm, no foul. Same with the North Carolina thing. The like taking classes that didn't exist. Like that was all fine and good because it wasn't just the athletes. There were also other people that took the same class. So nothing happened to these schools. And to me, it's ridiculous.
No, I think it's very inconsistent. The NCAA has always been that, but more than inconsistent now, Amanda, I don't know that they have any teeth. You have Mark Emmert who's stepping out next year, maybe before that, if they find the right replacement, I'm told, which shouldn't be difficult. But the NCAA now, just philosophically, there is payment of players. I know you're not supposed to pay prospects. I know Pruitt broke the rules, and I want to talk about Pruitt specifically in a second, but it just doesn't feel the same as it would have a year or 18 months ago before NIL was allowed to go after a school that was doing something that is not nearly as frowned upon now, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. $60,000 is a drop in the bucket for what schools and boosters are paying for players now. I mean, honestly, it's a drop in the bucket. The allegedly, and I always say allegedly because we don't know for sure, the $8 million that's going to an incoming quarterback for the 2023 season, that $60,000 compared to $8 million, and you guys are really going to cause a fuss over what could possibly be $60,000 given to players. And I understand it was before the NIL, but I don't get the difference from year to year. Everybody does it. Everybody's been doing it. It's been a thing in college football. It's just how well you can cover it up. Apparently, McDonald's bags aren't the greatest way to cover it up.
Well, according to the report, there's no actual evidence that the money was in the McDonald's bags. They took them to McDonald's. I don't know, but that was kind of a throwaway line, I think, for a lot of people in the media. And they did go to McDonald's. Was the money in there, or was it just a 5 chicken nuggets? I don't know, but there was money dispersed. The thing that I think is most disturbing, and I'm not saying this from Tennessee's perspective at all, because I'm going to get to what I think will happen to Tennessee. But I'm talking about from Jeremy Pruitt's perspective, because Jeremy Pruitt, it was so widespread. It wasn't just coaches. It wasn't just people on his support staff and recruiting. It was his wife. He was using his wife, according to this letter of allegations, to go out and pay players. I mean, that is incredibly widespread. And with all the names that were out there, boy, it seems like, and I'm not throwing anybody under the bus, but it seems like Philip Fulmer, the then AD or somebody, should have known it was that bad. It was bad.
Yeah, but do you expect that from Philip Fulmer? I think everybody looks at him like he's some kind of, I don't know, just prince of Tennessee. He's never been a prince of Tennessee. Like, he's never been great for Tennessee football. And I don't care. He won a national title. I get that.
Well, I will say this. I think that Tennessee will ultimately be fine in this. And here's why. Because I don't think the NCAA has the teeth. I don't think $60,000 is a lot of money, especially considering the fact that, Reggie Bush got a house. I don't think the NCAA, and you and I talked about this at SEC Media Days, I don't think ultimately, if it's 50-50, the NCAA wants to hammer one of its flagship universities, one of its top 25 universities. So they don't want to hammer Tennessee, and they noted that Tennessee has been very cooperative in all of the talks. So at the end, I think there could be restrictions placed on recruiting trips. I think that's a possibility. Could there be a couple of scholarship reductions, maybe 2 to 4? Possibly, but you can cure that with a transfer portal. I don't see this being anything serious. I don't think that the NCAA wants to hurt a Tennessee who has the SEC on its side like they hurt USC, because Southern California is just now coming out of their decade-long doldrums after getting hammered by the NCAA.
The NCAA has no standing whatsoever to do anything about anything at this point. If you look at Texas A&M, how you have a staff member on camera saying, hey, if you know that if you come here, these boosters up here are going to pay for you to be here, which is a direct violation of the NIL, because schools are not supposed to be paying to recruit these players. That's not what the money was intended for. But you have that on camera and they're not doing it. They're not even looking at it. They're not even looking at it. So if I were Tennessee, if I were anybody looking at this situation whatsoever, I would laugh at the NCAA. I would laugh at them in their face and say, really? Y'all are going to come down on this part?
I've said the same thing about giving NIL money to prospects. I mean, I wouldn't broadcast it, but I would let it be known in recruiting circles that that's no big deal, that happens at Tennessee. And I think Tennessee is doing that. So be sure and like and subscribe. For Amanda LaFratta, I'm Dave Hooker. This has been a presentation. Tennessee's going to be fine.